All right, good everyone. Welcome to another wonderful edition of Legal Corner, sponsored by Vision Kings. Today's edition will be taken by Mr. Efrebo Destiny and Mr. Jesse Joshua, and the topic for today is negligence. Watch, learn, and enjoy. Please always try to subscribe and share with others. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Jesse Joshua Igbanibo and I'm very glad to be on this with my friend. So today I will be talking on an important aspect of law, which is negligence in the law of torts. Now, law of tort generally is an aspect of law that deals with wrongs, civil wrongs. By civil wrongs, it is not a crime, it's not an offense punishable by imprisonment, but is a wrong which the person affected seeks compensation from the courts. Compensation could be in the sense of monetary compensations or orders given by the courts to restrain further committing of these wrongs. Now, the law of tort has various aspects, but the aspect that is mostly pronounced in the law of tort has to do with trespass, and trespass is literally like interfering with a person. It could be with his body, it could be with his chattel, it could be with land. So any unwarranted interference with a person is trespass. Negligence that I'll be speaking on today is different from this aspect of law, and my definition of negligence would be derived from the major elements. Negligence is defined as a situation whereby a person who owes a duty of care to someone faults in that his duty of care, and as a result of that, the person on the other end suffers damage. What do I mean by this? The law recognizes that as individuals in the society, we are expected to live in certain ways and conduct ourselves in certain manners so as not to put any other person in a disadvantaged position. This is a duty imposed on you by law and not by any contractual basis or anything. So, the moment you fault in this duty, you have committed the tort of negligence. Of course, the law expects each and every one of us to be sensible people, abiding. If the law gives us the freedom to act in any way we can, a lot of people out there would suffer damages. So, I had said earlier, we derived this definition from the three major elements of negligence. What are the elements of negligence? 1, that a duty of care is owed. 2, that there was this breach of this duty of care. And 3, as a result of this breach, somebody must have suffered damage. You must prove these 3 things in order to sufficiently justify your claim in negligence in the court of law. This thought is a very important thought, and I want us to take this ride really seriously and understand the duties and obligations that the law imposes on us to ensure that the society we live in is a safe space for each and every one of us. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I'll give the floor to my colleague to take it up from here.
Okay, thank you, Sir Jesse. My name is Efrebo Destiny. Like my colleague had said, he has already mentioned the elements to prove this negligence, right? Now, I will be speaking on one of the elements, which is the duty of care. Now, one would say that for one to actually sue in some situations, there must be a privity of contract, right? He must be a party to this contract. However, when it comes to negligence, you don't need to be a party to a contract for one to be able to sue when it comes to negligence. What the person has to show is that this person owes him a duty of care. Now, this duty of care was first established in the case of Neighbourhood and Stevenson. Now, what is duty of care? Duty of care is one doing something that where one does anything that is foreseeable that his action will actually result to a particular damage to a particular person. The law expects him to make sure that he does that thing so carefully that he will not actually cause this damage to this person. Now, one would ask again, should we say that in every situation one owes another a duty of care? That is to say, one can sue at any time. In Donoghue and Stevenson, Lord Akin stated that there is this principle that was actually established, which is called the neighborhood principle, where he said, who is my neighbor, right? And then he said, my neighbor is anyone that will be affected by my action or omission, of which when I was taking those actions or making those omissions, I would have put in contemplation, I would have considered before making those, before actually taking my actions further. Now, in the case of heaven and heaven and Buddha, in that case, the owner of the ship was supposed to use a very strong rope. Yes, the plaintiff was hired to paint, and then he failed to provide a good rope for him to be able to tie what he was to use and paint the place. And then the rope at the process of him painting actually cut, and then the man fell. Right, the court held that he owed him a duty of care because he was supposed to put him into consideration while actually buying that rope to tie whatever he wants to tie to paint that place, because if anything has happened to that rope, it will actually affect the person involved. Now, also in the case of Aro and Young, the court established a very wonderful principle that though there is this duty of care owed to anybody that will be affected by your act or inaction, however, the person cannot be liable for everything that was caused by his action, right? Where something happens and a third party that is not foreseeable in that situation gets hurt, he will not be liable. Now, in that case, in Aro and Young, a pregnant woman who was not present in the scene of accident, right, had a miscarriage upon hearing the news. The court held that it is not foreseeable that a pregnant woman that did not see the accident, that was not present in the scene, would be affected, right? So, negligence, though, is something that is open to the whole world. There are some situations whereby this person does not owe a duty of care to a third party, where it is not foreseeable that this person will actually be harmed, right? Also, in the case of Ashton and Turner, the court established a very important principle, which is the public policy principle. In that principle, the court stated that where one involves in something that is against public policy and then is harmed, the duty negligence, he cannot be able to sue for negligence, in the sense that what he's doing is actually against public policy. Now, in Ashton and Turner, two persons actually went to rob and then they were escaping from the police. The other person driving recklessly injured him. The court held that this is not public, it's against public policy. So what am I saying? Though one has a duty of care, right? However, it must be foreseeable that if he had done this thing, it will actually affect another person, right? Just like in Donoghue and Stevenson, where the drink, there is a decomposed snail shell in the drink. Every reasonable man knows that when you put a decomposed snail shell in a drink, anybody that drinks, that actually consume that drink, will be affected. Bringing it back to our locality, right? Before I round up, the local akara woman along the road that sells akara is expected to know that all those buying her akara will be affected by her carelessness if she fails to be careful while preparing her akara. If for peradventure there is like one actually found roaches in her akara, and then the person consume it and suffer anything, she owes such a person a duty of care to make sure that while preparing the akara, she is so careful that she did not put anything in that akara. Okay, like when preparing the akara, he's so careful that the thing does not affect the person, right? And just say I think we encountered one situation a particular time. There is this meat pie we bought, and then we saw should I say something like a millipede or a housefly, something like that. I think is actually an housefly, right? And then my question now is this: Though when the person was preparing this thing, there was no contractual agreement between him and the buyer. However, upon buying the thing, he knows that if the person consume a bad substance, it will actually affect its health. Then why not be so careful and make sure that while preparing this thing, the environment was clean and there is nothing infiltrated in it. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is this: the issue of negligence does not involve a contractual relationship, but involves a duty of care, and this duty of care has been established by law. Thus, where one owes another a duty of care, and it's foreseeable that if he is not so careful in carrying out his action, it will affect the health, the well-being, the person who buys, who purchases, who does anything with him. The law expects him to be so careful so as not to harm and endanger the life of a third party.
Okay, so in summary of all that has been said right now, negligence is an aspect of law that I feel more awareness should be created on it in the society we live in. Ignorance in the law is not an excuse. Everyone ought to know what the law expects of you in certain situations, and like he rightly said, this duty here is not imposed on you by virtue of privity or contract law. Anybody, emphasis on anybody within contemplation that can actually be foreseen to be hurt by your careless conduct is under a relationship with you that you are duty bound to ensure that you conduct yourself in such manner as not to harm that person. So yes, this is a ride worth it, and I don't know if you have anything to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jesse. Thank you very much. This is actually insightful, right? Now, like my colleague rightly said, while carrying out your actions, while doing whatever you're doing, you should remember that there is a third party that might be affected in what you're doing. However, like Lord Esha M.R. is still in the celebrated case of ground. Yes, I think ground. Yeah, ground and another, right? Because he said that where one foresees that he owes nobody a duty of care, is allowed to be as negligent as he wants. However, we know that in our day-to-day life, most things we do, we actually directly or indirectly owe people duty of care. And so, like my colleague said, it should be like an awareness to people that what you do can actually affect another, and the person has a good ground to sue. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Efrebo Destiny and Jesse Joshua Ibanigo. Thank you, our dear audience, for listening and moving along with us. We like your feedbacks and we want to see you share, like, and comment on the video. Also subscribe and urge others to do the same. Thank you very much. See you next week. I started recording.
Hello everyone.